Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of This Is Us Season 6, Episode 16, Family Meeting. Let's just have a meeting here from the jump and point out we only have two more episodes of the show now that we've watched this one. We got to just get it all out there, out of the way, so we can just deal with it and move past it.
Why are you trying to make everybody cry more than we already do on this show? At least this episode made me cry a lot less than the Miguel episode. But we should all buckle up because next week, woo! It is coming, Rebecca's death.
This entire episode, it sort of felt like we were sitting out on the back patio of our place. And, I know this a lot growing up in Texas when you can kind of sense that a tornado is about to happen and there's like something weird in the air and the wind is blowing. It's like storms are coming from this episode. We were all just on the patio for like the entirety of it.
But before we get into that, even though we only have 2 episodes left, we are here every week doing reviews, doing previews of This Is Us. We have tons of other shows here at the channel that if you're already watching, you can join in the conversation. If you're not, you can jump into the conversation and go and take a look at some of the other stuff that we cover here. So hit that subscribe button.
Also, if you guys do want to support us further, check out that button below the video with the heart next to it that says thanks. That is YouTube's super thanks feature, and you guys can make a financial donation to us, and that helps us to continue to be able to do all of these fun discussions. And thank you guys so much. The reception has been really, really great and positive since this feature was introduced. So with all of our hearts, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's start with that phone call at the end.
We might as well.
Because we had sort of the future Kevin making that call to Randall to say the time is coming. You need to get out here.
This is really the show going the fullest of full circles where, we have seen this moment for years now, and it feels honestly like the entire purpose of this episode was to sort of present this tie-in where everything can finally be brought back to this moment. Randall, I'm guessing, is going to call some other people. Everybody is going to show up there at some point in the very near future, and then we'll get to see more of, I guess, this evening that we have kind of watched play out here and there throughout the entire show.
Yeah, and I mean, this episode did a really, really wonderful job of just showing Rebecca throughout the Big Three's life. Not her and Jack, but her and everything that she did for them, getting up in the middle of the night, to have these nightmares come on in. There's no gremlins, the tooth fairy, of how, Kevin was really buying into it and she decided to tell Randall the truth, how she knows her children so well to know what they need, that even in the worst situations, like what happened with Kevin in that crib where, Jack was like, I'm just going to call Rebecca in here, even though I can probably handle it myself. She was really a rock. Yes, Jack was this sort of superstar father for the whole family, but she was this rock throughout everything. And I think because so much of this story has been about Jack and his influence on the family and then what happened after his death and how that also impacted everyone, that it was easy to just kind of gloss over everything that Rebecca has done for this family, and it is a lot.
It is kind of ironic that this episode aired a couple of days after Mother's Day, because I feel like it really, I feel like...
Happy Mother's Day, everybody out there's mom.
Rebecca is she is the unsung hero of this show in so many ways.
As many moms are.
Exactly. And this episode, I think, is really setting the groundwork for this tribute to Rebecca that I think is going to be a lot of the end game of this show. This person who was here no matter what was going on. By the way, I also had nightmares about Gremlins and Gremlins 2, to be specific. That one was horrifying. What were they doing with Gremlins 2? I don't even know.
No, I was too young to watch that movie. I really shouldn't have. But, here we are. We're all better for it, I guess.
There was so much relatable stuff, I think, through all of this. And I just think it was so important to be reminded of not just how Rebecca was there for them, as infants and toddlers, but how she would be there to, sign Randall's permission slip and all of these.
At 4 a.m., Randall.
How do you why do you not do this the night before, Randall? There's a lot of questions going on with that.
What I really loved was, of course, the full circle moment that the show always brings us, where we saw Rebecca throughout the years being there for her kids no matter what, even if it was tough love to tell Kevin to get his you-know-what together and stop being a bad influence on everybody else. Poor Kevin. Anyways, that we saw later in life where Kate really was sitting down with her brothers to be like, since everything has happened, Kevin, you're touching her less. You're not hugging her as much or touching her as much. And, Randall, you're not really seeing her the way that she is now. You sort of just are keeping this idea of her, of this wildflower, beautiful, amazing, full of energy woman who is now in this part of her life where she is struggling with this horrible disease. And you need to both get in there and actually touch your mom, brush her hair, hold her hand, and put cream on her. I was dying. It was so, so good. And to see sort of that she went from taking care of them to now they are taking care of her. It was done just so well.
It was done really well. And I think it's also, once again, relatable to a lot of people out there who think it's better to compartmentalize and basically be like, okay, I don't want to accept the situation that it is now. So I'm just going to continue to picture, the situation that was way back when. And I think for a lot of people, for Kevin, for Randall, I think they probably think that is easier and that is better for them. But I think this is Kate sort of saving them from themselves, because I feel like, years down the line, unfortunately, I think, Rebecca's going to pass on. And I think after Rebecca passes, I think the two of them would hold a lot of regret that they didn't really see and understand what she was going through at the very end of her life. And she's keeping that from happening.
Yeah, even at the beginning of this episode, I think we all knew this was going to be coming, that after Miguel passed, that Rebecca was not going to remember that Miguel had passed. I think there's a lot of people out there that have gone through this. If you guys have been watching these videos for a while, you know that my family went through this as well, that, my grandpa Compton, he passed away, and my grandmother for a very long time would ask, where is Compton? When is Compton coming home? And I wasn't sure how the show was going to deal with that. In our family, we just let her know that he'll be home soon, because we wanted her to be able to be like, okay, and move into something else without feeling that pain of, oh, he's passed away, and then she has to go through that 20 times a day. I wasn't sure how the show was going to do it, and instead the show kind of did it in the middle. They kind of rode the fence with it. They didn't tell Rebecca over and over that Miguel had passed, but they didn't sort of make any excuses to be like, oh, he's just, he's gone to the store, he'll be back. Oh, okay. Instead, they kind of just didn't answer the question and tried to move her into something else. There are different ways to deal with this situation.
Yeah, I think as long as they didn't tell her that he had passed on, I think they're handling it in whatever way I guess they feel like they can handle it. I can't imagine having to just sort of figure this out on a day-to-day basis. I know your family experienced it. I didn't have the same experience in my family, but I know that every person on this show loves Rebecca, and I think that's what makes this episode in particular really fascinating, because you're seeing like all these disagreements that happen over this family meeting. None of them are born out of, I care about Rebecca more than you, or I really know that much better. Randall sometimes can get into that place, but I just think they all have their own ideas to how to best care for her, and sometimes they put a little bit of blinders on because of that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how they were going to put this family meeting together. I knew there wasn't going to be another Kevin Randall blow up. They've
Yeah.
moved way past that. And, neither one of them are in charge anyways. So they both kind of have to play ball with whatever Kate wants. But Kate was going to hear them out. And I'm glad that she did. She wanted to it worked to talk it all out because it then spawned these other conversations with like Kevin and Sophie and, Madison and Elijah, and like Randall talked about it with Beth. Like everybody's talking about it to sort of get to what is the meat of it, which is everybody cares about Rebecca and they want the best thing for her. So there is sort of this, do we move Rebecca? Where Kevin is like, this is her house. She asked me to build it for her. This is where she wanted to be until her end of days. I'm going to honor that with her. But at the same time, nobody's really able to be there as far as family. And I know it's really difficult because they are spread out all over the country. It's not like the situation with my grandma where her 5 kids all live nearby. So we were able to have her stay with a full-time caretaker in her house where my aunties would be there every single day. Somebody would be there every single day. And it is really important.
Yeah.
So when Randall brought that idea up to be like, listen, I know that a move is going to be difficult on her, but she needs family there to be with her as much as possible. I understood where he was coming from too, because I saw with my own eyes, I know it's different for everybody, how much that helped and impacted my grandmother to get through this disease, that every day she did see somebody and wasn't, feeling like she was kind of just left somewhere. And, we ended up in the situation, of course, where then Kevin was like, listen, Randall, you're not home every day. You're home twice a week. You're traveling around, you're doing all kinds of stuff. So what can you do about it? You're doing nothing because Rebecca told you not to.
Randall, this is the thing, Randall. I know your heart is always in the right place. You are also stubborn as heck. You don't see the forest through the trees a lot of the time. And I felt like a lot of this episode was building towards a solution that we all kind of felt like eventually, especially because of the flash forwards that we've seen, we were going to get there. It's just like, Randall, of course, you're a senator. You have to be in Washington to do certain things. It's just an inevitability about it. I know, it's not like you're on the West Coast. It's, it's far, but it's not impossibly far. But, it sounds like Kate is doing some really great stuff out on the West Coast too. And I'm glad they actually legitimately addressed that, because they really hadn't given any update on her career at all.
Yeah, it sounds like her career is like a really solid, impactful career. Yeah. And I know I've seen a little bit in the comments at the beginning when she was like part-time and kind of like, oh, is that a career? Yes, it's a career, even if you're working part-time. But I mean, at this point, she's full-time. She's a supervisor there. She's creating a curriculum for arts through all of the state. I mean, this is a career. So it was good to see how far things have come in her job. And yeah, with Randall, I understand him wanting her nearby, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Is Beth's mother not still living with them? Like, how many people need to come and live there? Beth even kind of mentioned it, where she was just like, everybody coming to live with us.
It's really weird. Like, there are certain things about This Is Us, and we'll get to some of the other ones a little bit later, but like, there's things with This Is Us that they introduce and they're like a big interesting thing for a while, and then they just like drift off into oblivion, never to really be mentioned that much anymore.
Yep.
It was a little bit odd. Also odd, Kevin's revival of the Manny apparently was like successful enough that, he was talking about this way before we jump forward in time. This thing is still going. How is this original and revival this successful? The revivals never do that great. I have seen examples.
No, it's true. It cannot do well, but good for you.
Made us say, what?
All right. Okay. It's obviously made enough money for him that he feels like he's able to go and focus in on the big 3, homes, and be able to just be out there, because that is the solution that everybody decided is A-okay. Him and Sophie are going to move into Rebecca's house and stay with her. We've got Nikki, who I said years ago was going to be living in that cabin, and he absolutely is living in the smaller cabin that is on the same land with Edie. So, that's good. He's nearby as well. Madison and Elijah, they've decided they're also going to move. Here we go. So,
Yeah.
Madison was saying that they were staying in LA for Kevin, that they didn't really want to be there, but they were staying so that he could be near the kids. I mean, that's quite nice to put kind of your whole life not on hold, but you're staying somewhere you really don't want to stay to make sure that Kevin has access to the kids. It's a sacrifice, and it's a great one for the kids so that they can have both their mom and dad close by. But like, man, that is a tough decision to make, to sacrifice your own happiness in life for that.
First of all, Madison and Elijah, very accommodating people, clearly, because it's like they were willing to stay there. Now they're out here at the compound with, and the only real reason they have to be there is just so that Kevin could be around his kids while they're even going through all this family meeting stuff. Also, it's just like a little bit convenient that this is all sort of thrown in at this exact moment, but I guess this is us. This is a world where conveniences do at times happen.
I will say that I'm glad that they kind of focused in on this takeout food that they are always taking out, because I have seen in the comments here a lot that people think that Kevin is not married to Sophie in the future, which we have all seen that he is. We saw it a little bit the last episode. We've seen it tons this episode, that he couldn't possibly be married to anybody because he's going out to get food and there is no woman in the kitchen cooking everything while Rebecca's dying. And my feeling on that is men can cook food and men can go and get takeout. It's not like a big deal, and not all bachelors just live like they do on TV, where they just have condiments in their refrigerator. Men know how to cook and take care of themselves. They don't need to have a woman doing that. But mostly I just felt like Rebecca is on her deathbed.
Yeah.
Why would Sophie or any wife be in the kitchen cooking food when their mother-in-law, who Sophie has known for decades, is dying in the other room, and she's going to be in the kitchen cooking something and not with Rebecca? There's no way Kevin would ever ask her to do something like that and be like, you can't participate in her last bit of life. Please cook us something. No, he was going to be like, we're going to just get some takeout. And now we know why. Apparently there's a really good Chinese food restaurant in town. Man, do they order there a lot.
Kudos to This Is Us for making us all collectively hungry. Also, kudos to This Is Us for, the thing is, I've been a little bit worried as of late that the show is getting just too bleak and too sad, because it's like last week was just sob-inducing. There was a lot of sad stuff in this episode too. I want there to be a little bit of lightness before the end, but there were a couple of legitimately like really funny moments that I think are worth just like a little bit of applause here. First of all, I'm glad to see that Dan Fogelman has listened to me in some past videos and saying we need just like a moment or two of Nikki coming on and saying something a little bit inappropriate or obnoxious, just to change up the mood a little bit. Him about like, oh, I'll come over, I ain't gonna like clean her up. Or it was like, nobody was asking you to do that, Nikki. Why are you talking about this?
No, let's not pretend like, Nikki, you're not over there on the regular. You live on the same land. You care about her. Of course you're over there.
I also have to give Beth A+ for her impersonation of Randall, which I thought was hysterical.
I also really loved her talk with Randall to just kind of really bring him into the present, to say, your brother and sister are not the same people. And I think we're all kind of guilty of that in general, that you get this perception of someone at whatever age, and it just gets stuck, no matter if they've changed or haven't changed. And Beth, I appreciated hearing that. And I think Randall did too, to really be like, look at your brother and sister and where they are now. Really look at them.
I feel like Susan Kelechi Watson in these final episodes, she was just basically like, you guys may only be giving me 2 minutes of screen time, but I'm going to get my Emmy in those 2 minutes of screen. She's just like packing, eating, delivering every single time we see her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Beth, I think, was really, really great. There was a lot of nostalgia sort of woven in throughout all of this. We even got a reference to Dr. K, which brings me... Okay, there have been questions for a while now. Where is Dr. Horse? We have made this into a bit on these videos for years.
Yeah.
Here is the answer, everybody. We've done some research on this.
Yes.
Apparently, Dr. Horse was written into the season 4 finale prior to the start of the health crisis. All that stuff happened after they decided to write in the health crisis between season 4 and season 5. Lots of things in the story had to change. We've all sort of seen, for example, Happy Days way back when it was like Richie Cunningham's brother, just like, where'd he go? Like, you know, there's stuff on shows sometimes that just vanishes, never to be seen or heard of again. I know they set up Dr. Horse to be something big. I know Dan Fogelman even said he was going to be something big. He's off living his best life with his horses. He could not be bothered to be a part of the show. That is the end of it.
I was also really happy to see Toby because
Yes.
I was very worried that he was just gonna kind of be gone. And it was nice to see that he's with his woman, he's got the kids, he's doing well. Their relationship is still doing really well. Their friendship is well. They're co-parenting really well. Like, it's just nice to have that reminder. And I know we had that big montage where, you know, a couple episodes ago where it was like, they're at birthdays together, they're at holidays together. Philip's like, hey, you want to just stay and have a meal with us? Sure. Like, their relationship over the years has been good. And it's nice to see that it is still good.
Yeah, I really appreciate Toby being here, especially because we know we're going to see Toby again.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to have like that little bit of continuity. I think just overall, I really appreciated this episode. I'm not going to say personally, like it's up there at the highs of what we saw like last week or a couple of the other ones as of late, just because I feel like so much of it was just sort of transitioning us from one period to another period of the final episodes. There's not like one big moment that's just like causing my glasses to fly off my head.
No, this really is just building us up to next week where Rebecca is very likely going to pass away.
Yeah.
And then into that final episode where I think it's going to sort of be, I've mentioned this in other videos, kind of like a 6 Feet Under finale is kind of how I think it's going to play out, where we just get to see where each of the big three ends up in life.
President Randall.
Yes.
Let's we need some happy moments. We need to be able to celebrate this stuff.
I absolutely think he's going to end up as president. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, we will be here to, of course, talk through all of that stuff. So hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of that. Check out that super thanks button if you guys do want to support us there, and we will see you here next time.